Etheria was once a land of living legends. Years ago, young warriors stood together against an immortal evil known as the Old Ones. In the wake of this struggle, these brave heroes resealed the power of the Old Ones within mystical artifacts known as Eternia crystals. For a time, there was peace. Now a mysterious force travels across the land, destroying the Eternia crystals one by one and liberating this ancient evil.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm PM Masher.
And I'm Blacksmith.
And we're here today to present to you Alpha and Beyond.
Yeah,
this is really exciting. So you guys have just watched the new intro cinematic for the game.
DD2, yeah.
This is actually done by a really awesome graphic design company in France. Well, actually, the first part of it, there's actually a lot more. That's just a tease. It does continue onward, so you guys will have to watch it in the game when it comes out to see the DD2 part of the story. But Blackmail is actually the team that did this awesome Game of Thrones video online that you guys may have seen, and we were like, dude, you guys are so awesome, and it turned out that they're actually huge DD1 fans. And they wanted to work with us on this as well. So, yeah, so guys, stories in the game. It's really exciting. There's a lot more. But before we get into all those details, first, some introductions to the Devstream. For those of you here before and those of you that are new, we are doing contests every 10 minutes. This time we are giving away the Squire Boxer accessory.
Yep.
So if you want to win some boxers for your Squire, then you can type in hashtag DD2 to the chat when Josh calls it out for you guys. In addition to that, please stay tuned after the stream for the Casters Guild. They have the Social Tavern, where they're going to recap everything that we talk about, and they're especially fun when you watch them after our patch recaps, because you get a lot of their commentary on all the new stuff in the patch as well, which is great. And then finally, I Am Isom is finally back from vacation. This is his first dev stream back with us in a while, so thanks, Josh, for being back, and feel free to tell everyone your thoughts on the stream. Alright, so before we get into Alpha and Beyond, we do have a release date. We're going to announce the release date about at the midpoint of the stream. We want to talk about events. So there's a lot of talk about events. So first of all, there are a couple of changes to the Hero Focus Weekend event schedule that we gave you guys last week. So it is actually being extended a couple weeks. This weekend is the Huntress Phoenix Call weekend. Next weekend is the Purging Evil Monk build weekend, and then the weekend after is a recap weekend. So there will actually, we wanted to add that so that everyone have it. All these items are always in the game, but you will have a bonus chance of getting them also. And then in addition, the patch is coming out, so we're going to tell you the date in just a little bit very soon. We also wanted to give a couple chances to participate in these weekend events after the patch as well, which a lot of you have asked for. So with that, why don't we talk about this weekend's event, Phoenix Call?
Sure. So very similar to most of our weekend events, we're going to increase the chance to see legendary items. And this weekend specifically, we're going to increase the chance to see the Phoenix's Call, the legendary weapon that you need to actually get the napalm balloon to actually summon the Phoenixes. And hopefully you guys will be able to get it and give us some feedback on the Huntress's latest build set.
And actually, I think right now for you guys, for the first part of the stream, before we jump into the video for the new patch, we are going to have Butter playing for you a little bit with the build so you can see what it does. There's some really cool things with this build.
Yeah.
What do you think is like the coolest setup thing that you think you've seen someone do with it so far?
Probably the coolest thing is chaining a bunch of napalm balloons to just constantly fire in a circle. That's pretty fantastic. I imagine we're going to see a lot of that in the tavern going forward.
I would imagine so as well. I think that's my thing too. I walked up to Daniel at QA and I was like, what is that? I was like, do they go infinitely? He's like, yeah, they totally go infinitely. And I'm like, that is awesome. Nice. That is really cool. So yeah, so sweet. So guys, so this is one of the new builds in the game. We also are going to announce we don't have it to show for you, but this will coming out next week, which is the new monk build, and this is called Purging Evil.
Purging Evil, yes.
So you want to explain a little bit about what it's going to be for people?
So you might notice Purging Evil is a little familiar. It was probably one of the first legendary weapons we introduced for the monk. When we wanted to do something for the monk, we had like 4 or 5 different ideas. But what we really kind of talked about was the Purging Evil special set that you used to be able to get from Malthius. where if the monk kills something inside the Serenity Aura, it explodes and does damage to things around it. So we're going to take that passive and we're going to rework it. So the way it's going to function now, anything that dies inside the Serenity Aura will detonate and deal damage around it. And obviously, if something kills something else, it's going to detonate again, and it can chain off of each other. And it's all going to be around your Serenity Aura, increasing the range, getting it really, quite a large aura, so that obviously you increase the kill zone. And that's what the Monk one is going to be all about.
So do you think a use case for the Monk one's going to be?
Use case will probably be to get... obviously increase its range as much as possible and put probably one Serenity Aura in where you predict the kill zone to be. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have your cool defenses set up, probably like the Huntress's build, complemented by the Apprentice's build. And they're going to be really good at killing things. And now it's going to be even better because each time something dies within the aura, it's going to detonate and deal damage around it. And then you kind of see the cool effect of things just dying outwards from one another.
Cool. And then... So I think, guys, those are our first 4 builds in the game. Do we want to talk a little bit about, what the future of these new items, passives, and skill spheres are for people?
So obviously we're in a big hurry to get builds to you guys as quickly as possible because we wanted to see what you guys think of it. Now that we kind of got 4 in there, we're going to slow down a little bit. We're going to rebalance them because obviously we knew there were going to be some balance issues there. Brett is working really hard on that, and that's going to, so you're going to see a bunch of like balance changes to these existing builds, and then from there we're going to start coming up with new ones and start exploring now how do you actually get these build items, because obviously we're doing a bunch of events, we're increasing the chances for you to get them because we want you to play with them as much as possible, but now we're looking into what are some of the fun ways to actually earn these different passives, and those are probably the next steps. So even more builds and how do you actually earn them.
Cool. So we have a question from the Talking Companion Cube who wants to know why is there a significant delay when the Rising Phoenix rises up from the Blaze Balloon?
We could have made it kind of instant, but what we wanted to do was give it a small delay, because you can imagine if something procs the Napalm Balloon and the Phoenix immediately rises, it might not hit as many enemies as it could have. So it gives it some time so that enemies kind of walk over it and then it detonates. Obviously, if they're on a choke point, it's not really going to matter the delay all that much. So that was kind of the reasoning behind it initially.
And I think I've seen, at least when you guys are playing in the office, I've seen a lot of you actually shooting the first Napalm Balloon in order to time it so that the Phoenix does come off and hit it when you want, as opposed to at random times. So guys, look at how beautiful this is. It looks glorious. I love this.
It's probably one of my favorite builds so far.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
Bring back Blaze.
Yeah. So I definitely think we need to take this visual cue, and this is how to do
builds
some
in the
future
future.
builds in the future. It's just so satisfying. When you get this stat, you're just like, oh, damn. Phoenix is all over the place.
Yep.
Awesome. So guys, that is our Hero Focus Weekends. We're really excited to give you more, and we're excited to continue to give you new passives, items, and skills for us to create your own build. I think that, as we start to get these in, and as we get multiple ones in for a hero, we're also going to be seeing people mix and match their favorite part of the different builds, and that's when it's going to get really exciting.
It's going to be really interesting when there's multiple Squire builds, combining it within one Squire, and then, obviously combining a Squire with an Apprentice with a Monk and seeing how all that dynamic comes together. It's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah. And I don't think anyone can say that this trap isn't so super satisfying to see. I'm getting distracted from from what we're supposed to be talking about, because I'm just staring at the Phoenixes and I'm like, this is awesome.
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, so speaking of builds, we really want to kind of talk about where you're going to use these builds, which is Nightmare Mode. And there's a bunch of changes coming up in Nightmare Mode in a future patch. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So Nightmare Mode, we knew had some issues. There were some issues that we were aware of. So what's going to change, we're completely rebalancing it. It was a lot easier than we expected due to some bugs that we kind of knew about, but we kind of left it and let it happen. What's going to happen, Nightmare 1, 2, and 3 are going to be rebalanced to be hard for people that are just jumping into it. It's going to be the place where you're playing to get higher item power pieces, and as well as these different passives that you'll kind of need in order to take on Nightmare 4. And Nightmare 4 is intended to be really challenging, really difficult, and have you kind of scratch your head and think, all right, if I combine the build A with build B. Maybe I might be able to take this on, and obviously the eye power gap is going to be smaller in Nightmare 4 because we don't want just raw stats to be able to brute force your way through it once you kind of think about how to strategize and take on that encounter. So that's the goal for Nightmare 1 through 4.
Cool, and then we're also reshuffling all the maps into different buckets as well.
We're reshuffling it based on how difficult and easy they are.
Okay, so I think some changes for you guys. Right now XP and loot scale kind of linearly up all the maps. So Life Root Force is in the end, which means it gives you the best of a lot of stuff. So we're rearranging the map by complexity. That means Life Root Force and Force Ambush, even though they're later in the campaign, they take place when you're going to hunt down Betsy, like a nice respite from Throne Room and the Ramparts. In Free Play and Nightmare, there are actually
you see them
before.
early on. Yeah,
you see them early on, and then the more complicated maps are later on. So I think it's going to be really exciting. There's also a really exciting loot announcement from Nightmare Mode.
Is there?
Yeah.
What is it?
Wave 1.
Oh, right, the Wave 1 thing. Oh, so many things. So a while back we found this issue and we had to turn off enemies dropping loot. Only special enemies and mini-bosses on Nightmare dropped loot. Now, in the next patch, what will happen is on Wave 1, the enemies won't drop, but Wave 2 onwards, all enemies will start dropping loot once again. So thankfully, it'll be a little fairer going forward.
And you guys can see, oh man, one more ogre. Gotta aggro him away from the core. So we'll see. Guys, there is a rollback happening in Nightmare Mode, and you just saw the accessories on screen. So if you guys haven't heard yet, as part of this Nightmare rebalance, we are actually taking all eye power gear, that's eye power 241 or above, and re-rolling it to an item of the same type. That's item power 240.
Right.
This is how we have the system set up technically in the game. It's the way it's able to do it. So you'll be able to take your 240 gear. You're probably going to have this gear for all of like half an hour until you start to find better gear in Nightmare Mode.
Right.
But you're going to take all the gear that you have and be able to gear up to start Nightmare 1 and start working your way through Nightmare 1, 2, and 3 where you're going to try to find and create build items and then eventually take on the challenge of Nightmare 4.
Yep.
But if you guys are... So guys... and I'm going to announce the patch date right after this, and then I'll tell you when the cutoff date for the Nightmare rewards are. But if you achieve these, if you have an item, eye power 240 or above before the patch goes live, then you will receive these 4 awesome accessories, which are really cool. Cool. So right after this contest, I think we're going to go into the patch reveal date. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. All right, guys. So Alpha and Beyond is our next patch, and it is coming out next Thursday on September 3rd.
Look at this
really
steampunkers.
I know, it's steampunkers. I really liked it because we were thinking about, we're transitioning to Alpha, and, I was like in Star Trek mood for some reason, so I was like, oh, we have the steampunkers, and we can do some J.J. Abrams lens flares. And,
Nice.
I think it worked out really well. So Alpha and Beyond will be coming out September 3rd. Which is really exciting. And so that means, guys, on Wednesday, September 2nd, you need to complete before 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That day you need to have an item of eye power 240 or more to get the exclusive Nightmare variants. That will be in the game. Awesome. All right, cool. So now I think we can start to talk a little bit about Nightmare, or we already talked about Nightmare, a little bit about Alpha and Beyond, and a little bit about what's in the patch. So I think the first thing we're going to do is talk about story. So you guys saw the intro video that we played earlier. So, the rest of this intro video that's in the game is really going to kick off the story and kind of set the mood for what's taking place in Dungeon Defenders 2, similar to how the cutscenes in Dungeon Defenders 1 took place. That story is going to run throughout the campaign, so you'll understand more like what everyone's saying in their specific bubbles, and I believe we have a couple more dialogue boxes from other people about the story as well that's being added to the game. And the story is going to start to kind of conclude a little bit in 2 new maps which are in the game. Now these are variations of existing maps, and I'm going to get into what that means, that we are calling internally Happy Throne Room and Happy Ramparts.
Yeah.
So we're going to take you on a quick little matinee walkthrough through them right now. So really what happens in the story, and I don't want to give too much away because I want you guys to play it, but the idea is that the first time your characters encounter these 2 maps, the city of Dragonfall is still under siege, and you are still successfully defending it. So when you get to these maps, you're escorting the Eternity of Crystals. You'll find out why in the full intro cinematic, up to the King and Prince of Dragonfall in the throne room, and everything is not destroyed. These maps are actually different than the versions of Throne Room and Ramparts that you guys have already played. You can see here, and we'll see when it loops around one more time, that there is actually no subcores in Ramparts, and then there are also 2 less lanes in Throne Room.
Throne Room.
So this is going to, it does a couple things. One is that it solves a little bit of the difficulty problems we've noticed when some people were playing through the campaign and reaching these maps. Additionally, it's going to make it a lot of fun for players, for all of you guys, when we reintroduce the next 2 maps with the next chunk of the story. So as you guys have, the early access players who have been in all the time, you know spoilers a little bit for our next adventure pack. But in the next adventure pack, which will also come with our next boss, you find out why and how through the cutscenes that these 2 maps go from being happy to sad, and you'll find out even more that I don't want to spoil. That's hinted at a little bit in the intro. So that will take place, basically, your characters go from Happy Throne Room Ramparts, you take the King's quest of slaying Betsy to get the Elder's eggs, you do that, and you come back, and you'll find out what happens in our next adventure pack. So, alright, that's really, really exciting. Alright, so good. So guys, so that's the story part of the game, and I think right after Butter kills this ogre, we are going to jump right into the patch itself. So what we have for you today is we have kind of a looping video of a lot of the features of the patch. We're going to kind of go through them one by one, show you the different things, and we might play it twice through, and then we'll get back into playing with the Huntress's build. Because of the length of time of the video we go over, we might have to restart playing as the Huntress's builds, and if we do that, I apologize. But we'll try not to leave you hanging on how Butter is completing this map.
Actually, totally killed it.
I know, you did a good job. That was fucking awesome. That was so good. All right,
that was an epic battle against
it. It was epic. It looked like his health was just going nowhere.
Troll blood.
Troll blood, yeah.
Troll blood
is the worst.
Getting a bit of a nerf. Troll blood. Yep.
Oh man, sweet. All right, let's go. So the first thing that we want to talk about here is the accessible UI. So one of the third influence vote for you guys for Influence Suite was accessible UI. We are working on all of it. It's all at different parts. If you paid attention to the devlog, I think you've seen that James Reed has already started on the new HUD, which is in progress. But the first thing that we were able to get in from the accessible UI was these contextual cursor icons.
Yep.
You want to tell them a little bit about how they work?
Yeah, so basically when you go and hover over an NPC, your tower, a piece of loot, you'll see like small icons with small button tooltips and prompts telling you how you can basically interact with these objects. And it's a lot clearer than it was before, especially when you go up to a defense, there's the upgrade, sell, repair, and all that stuff in there. So it's a lot cleaner, a lot easier to see.
Yeah, so it makes it a lot nicer, and you guys will see in a second placing defenses and kind of using this. There's still maybe some tweaking that we're going to have to do to the contextual cursor icons as we go forward, but we think that they're going to be a much marked improvement from how it was previously.
Now they're seeing the...
they're seeing the new monthly pet. So guys, there's also a new monthly mission in the patch. This monthly mission is called the Big Hunt. And in it, you have to kill 200 ogres, 50, is it quibbles?
50 quibblies
and 50 tuskars.
Tuskars, yeah.
Yeah, and so this is the new monthly pet. He is a sword. I think some of you guys actually suggested a sword pet from before, so that's why I picked the sword pet. And he has an ability which is basically an aura of swords, is just looks fantastic.
Looks pretty cool. Does a good chunk of damage as well.
Exactly. So this monthly pet will be on available on September 3rd. That's when the new monthly pet is going to go live. So congrats for you guys to do it. There's also a new premium pet that will be available in the game. This is Evil Wick.
Evil Wick.
It's kind of like a cool old one ghost, and so like the other premium pets, he does have a visual evolution pass, and I think
it's a really cool
third tier,
Look at
evolution pass is actually really, really cool. You can look at him here. So beautiful. So so that's really cool. All right, so then, pets, premium pets, contextual cursor icons. So I think the next thing we're going to go through is this through the Skillsphere UI.
Skillsphere UI. So Skillsphere, we haven't really touched that system in a while. we wanted to improve kind of the accessibility of it. So you see here a UI that one of our designers, Philip Littman, worked on. It's a lot cleaner. It presents to you basically, there's a small box that tells you every single thing that you have equipped. So it's hopefully a lot cleaner. There are some filtering options as well that helps you find things a lot easier. You can see in the video kind of the different setups that we have on the different heroes, and it's a little exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot better than before, and you know, one of the reasons why we really attacked the screen is as you're focusing on building new heroes and creating your own build with all the new items and passives and skill spheres that we're adding in, it was really a clunky UI to get through.
They're becoming
really
such kind of important part to how you play the game, and you know, it was, I think, an important change, and I'm glad we got it in.
Yeah, and so now we're going to go through new costumes. So guys, we have our first 1200 apprentice and huntress costume for this patch. Before we show you a video, we're going to just kind of show you the accessories first, really quick. So you can see here there's also a change to the costume shop, so you can preview the accessories on a skin before you purchase it. Before you purchase, you see how amazing the Volcano Apprentice looks.
I love that skin.
Yeah, I love this skin too. You know, it turned out
that's not the coolest skin I've seen today.
So this is a 1200 skin. That means it does come with custom animations. So he has a really cool heal animation. He has a really cool death animation where he basically just like splurges lava everywhere. The floor turns to lava. It's really cool. So I like it a lot. We also have this Dryad Apprentice here, who is basically our lore story for him is he's friends with the Mushroom Man from the first game. Yeah, but if you tickle him, you do not get mana.
Nope.
But yeah, so he's really cool. I think a lot of people are gonna like him as well. So yeah, he's really cool. And I actually personally really love his like he looks okay with just the normal torso, but with the torso with the kind of shoulder pads, I think he looks really cool. Definitely the kind of skin that I would like. Oh man. And then no new Squire skins yet, new Squire skins soon. So then we have the Huntress, and as you guys see the Steampunctress, you can see her full costume here now. So she is also a 1200 skin, she has 3 mythic accessories. This is probably my favorite skin in the game right now. And you can see here, you can make her go full steampunk with the helmet, you can make her be half steampunk. I think we're going to change her torso a little bit. My favorite is actually her second torso that has kind of like the half skirt
things,
going down. It reminds me a lot of in like Fate's Day Night. Is it King Arthur? I know that's not her name, but that's like who she is. Like her cape in the back. So it's really cool. And I think we're going to show you a short clip of these guys close up. So yeah, so the Steampunctress does have some really cool custom animations.
And some VFX as well.
Yeah. And I think her favorite of those is actually her rocket boots.
Yeah, those are fantastic.
Yeah, so she has rocket boots that actually shoot up into
Every
the
time
air.
you jump, yep.
So we do have a couple more stuff to show you. I don't know if we're going to run into trouble because switch back, let's see. Oh man, brief check-in on how Butter's doing.
Seems to be doing well.
But we have 2 more features that we need to show you guys from the patch after costumes. So we'll see. Man, everyone's just talking about Sky City. Oh, there's the monthly pet up close. The Possessed Sword. He's really, really cool. We need to go back to the main loop though to show them the Scavenger.
Patch loop, yep.
Yeah. So
the Scavenger.
The Scavenger. Are you ready to talk about him?
I'm ready to talk about the
They
Scavenger.
already noticed him. They say he looks like the old guy from Aladdin. I unfortunately think they're going to have to maybe wait a little bit. You can see him here on the left side a little bit. But basically, do you want to tell him about the Scavenger? You can also see him actually being animated in the top right corner.
So Scavenger is basically what's going to replace the Tib. He's a new NPC. He's this weird little kooky character that, using some weird magic, manages to gather pieces of gear and loot that fall from the world or that you don't pick up, and he'll hold them for you, and he'll tell you like, hey, if you don't want them, I'm going to keep them. And we're not really sure. We're not really revealing what he's going to do with these items that you don't claim. But yeah, he's definitely a one of our more interesting characters. He's a lot of fun to talk to, and I look forward to Danny writing some more lines for this guy.
And do you want to? Are there any rule changes with how item picks ups and stuff?
We have a bunch of rule changes. Obviously, he's not going to automatically sell items or basically automatically collect items that you leave. If you left them, we assume that you kind of don't want them. We're not going to bother clouding your inventory with it. Instead, if you drop an item, item falls from the world, it's not your fault, we're going to put it in the tib, he's going to collect it for you. And what's going to happen is also, if you go to pick up an item but your inventory is full, he'll pop up and he'll say, hey, I'm going to hold on to this for you until you come and claim it. So these are kind of the rule changes. Also, obviously, since it's an NPC that you have to go and interact with, you won't really see the tib. That old tib
doesn't exist
anymore.
anymore.
It doesn't exist in the inventory. So when you go to like item enhancement, you won't see it and kind of get confused, because we had old issues in the past where we were like, hey, I can't drag from the tib to it. Well, now those issues would be gone.
Yeah, what's really funny is for me, we're giving you guys a little bit of recap of the other stuff now before we get back to the scavenger, but for me, just made the game feel so much cleaner. I now understand what that thing is and why it works and stuff, so I think you guys are going to actually like it a lot too as well. And hopefully, we noticed a lot of problems as we were getting people into the office playing, where they weren't really managing their inventory a lot, and they ended up relying on the tib, and then getting really frustrated that the tib bag didn't act like all the other bags they had, and it was just really confusing to players. So from what we've seen from this so far, basically really distinctively separates the stash that items go that fill up past your inventory, and then and then the items that go there. So it will still happen. I'm just repeating it just to make sure everyone knows. I see some questions in the comments. If you pick up an item and your inventory is full, it will go to the scavenger stash.
To the scavenger.
So it'll be there when you finish the map. When you're back in the tavern, you can go to him. You can sort your inventory in peace and calm, and and switch your stuff out. So we think that it's going to
reasonable peace. You'll have to deal with his little one-liners.
Yeah, you'll have to deal with his snappy one-liners, but.
And we have some cool things planned, kind of to use him in the future for some lore and for some event type things in the far future. So that'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, and maybe even some more extra special things too. We'll see what we get to. So in addition to that, there's also some new matchmaking changes, which is exciting. So the first of which we're not going to show you kind of here right now, but we are going to talk about, is that you can launch a private tavern from the main menu.
From the main menu, yeah. There's a new button. You just have to click it, and straight into private you'll go.
Yep, exactly. So we know this is something that has been requested from a lot of people. So now if you don't want to deal with the social tavern, you want to go straight into your private tavern and just play with friends, you can do so. In addition to that, there's a new door in the tavern. It is called the Tavern Gate.
Yeah.
And
basically, you can go up to it and activate it, and you'll switch between private and public whenever you want to. So you could be in a social tavern, maybe it's getting a little too noisy. You can go up to it, activate it, you're going to your private thing, and basically switch back whenever you want to.
And for you guys who are asking, so the Alpha and Beyond patch, it is coming out Thursday, September 3rd, and the cutoff for the Nightmare accessories is Wednesday, September 2nd at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So, there's one other feature that I don't want to show just yet. We're going to show in a little bit, but I will talk about again, is the daily bonus feature. So we did show this off last time. We're going to show it off in a minute again, but do you want to explain to everyone what this feature is?
Basically, the goal of this feature is every day it's going to give you about 5 tokens. If you are in free play, it's going to give you extra experience, an experience bonus.
We want to just not show it yet, though, because we want to see Scavenger.
So basically, it'll give you an experience bonus, and if you are in endgame, it's going to really beef up the victory chest, the chance to see it like a legendary and get even more items from it. And every day, it'll kind of tell you what are the maps that you need to play in order to get that reward. And the cool thing about it, the last token, I believe there are 5 tokens. The last one kind of doubles the chance. So for example, if you are in endgame and you're getting like a higher chance to see a legendary item, and you get 2 items from an endgame chest, the last token will give you 4 items and an even higher chance to see a legendary item from it, and things along those lines. So
we have a question from Zelix99 who says, will a scavenger grab items if you leave or disconnect? Currently, you lose everything if your client crashes or you leave.
That's unfortunate. Sorry to hear that this issue is currently happening. We can definitely potentially in the future expand the scavenger to collect things that basically when you disconnect, it's well within his magical powers, I think.
So we have a question from Nemesis Best, which is, can we get another way of getting gems other than paying for them? The costumes costs are quite high. I think we've talked about that a little bit. Do we have any daily missions that give gems yet?
Gems? No, not yet.
So that's definitely something, if you guys want something, we're considering. Obviously, this game is going to be a free-to-play game. We're moving towards that, at a faster clip than we were before, now that we're in alpha. For those of you that didn't catch the last Devstream or the blog before, you can see the Tavern Gate right here. So this is the gate where you can switch from private to public, and then you get to see this scavenger in 1 second. But for those of you who didn't catch it before, we kind of outlined what what the flow of development is going to be for the future of Dungeon Defenders 2. So we were just in pre-alpha for a long time.
Yep.
We launched in December on Steam. For the last 9 months on Steam, we've been in pre-alpha, and this patch is our alpha patch. What does that mean? That means basically you're going to see us a little bit more. You're going to see us the same amount, but you're going to see updates a little bit more frequently. We're targeting hopefully around one patch a week, where we're going to be adding new stuff and fixing stuff. And this is compared to before in pre-alpha, where a lot of you guys know we were like on a 2 to 3 month cycle. Like we'd say, "Hi guys, here's a lot of new stuff, a lot of new features," and we'd disappear, and you would see nothing from us for another 2 to 3 months when you get stuff. So now a lot of the core feature work complete, and a lot of stuff is going into it is kind of balancing and tweaking numbers, making it fun, making it satisfying, making things understandable. That's what we're in alpha. Once we get to the point where we're like a little bit more comfortable than where we are right now, which is not going to be too far away. We're going to go from alpha to open alpha. So open alpha is the same thing as alpha. We're still going to be fixing stuff every week. Stuff's still going to be broken. There's still going to be bugs, but it's going to be open to everyone. And what this will really let us do is it will let us see, see basically like how the game is operating in a free environment and really test everything out, make sure all of the kinds of players are enjoying the game and having a good time. And then finally, once we're done open alpha, one thing we've been saying is that I know a lot of you are afraid of wipes, and I know we've said that there are no wipes planned, and when we say that we mean that there are no wipes planned, like we don't have on a calendar, this is wipe day,
number 2.
It'll be wiped. But what we will be doing is when we switch to open alpha, we are saying that there will no longer be full wipes. So basically, when we switch to open alpha, we will be treating the game just like almost everyone else treats their online games. If there's an issue with a piece of gear or something, we'll do something similar to what other online games do, but you don't have to be afraid of a potentially completely new system coming in where we have to lose everything. And the reason why we can say that is because when we call it alpha, we're pretty confident of that. When we call it open alpha, we're even more confident of that, is that the core feature work is complete. And the changes that we're making to them are changes within the systems, not changes like we did a couple milestones before where we literally just threw away systems and the data didn't work
completely
anymore.
redid the entire loot system, for example.
Exactly. So that's really exciting. So and then after open alpha will be beta. So open beta. So that will be basically when we said, okay, now we're like, our core features are done, they're bug free, the game's not completely bug free, but like balanced and fun to play, and now we're focused on adding content. So pre-alpha is focusing on creating features, alpha is like half focused on creating features and half focused on actually making sure they work well, and then beta is, we're still working on features of 25%. I'm pulling, right, all statistics are like made up on the spot.
Right.
But you get the idea, like 25% is going to be working on new features and stuff, and then the rest of it is going to be creating new content. So a lot of people are saying, oh, when are we going to see new bosses? When are we going to see new maps? Those kind of things. You're really going to start to see those when we're in beta. And that's when basically we're like, okay, cool, now it's more valuable for our level designers to create a new map than it is for them to rebalance Nightmare Mode. And I think you guys know which one's more valuable right now. So cool. Then actually we'll show you the daily bonusing really quick now that we were talking about here as well. And so this is the last of the features to get in with the alpha patch. And so then for those of you who don't know, but a lot of you do because we're playing with the build, there's been a lot of builds and passives and items and skill spheres that we've added to the game since the last patch. So for a lot of you that are just coming back for alpha and beyond, those will be all new things that you'll be able to farm. And I think there will be a bunch of events that we run around those and some other events throughout alpha and beyond. And then we will also be kind of slotting them into different places in the world where you'll be able to get them after all of this.
So this is what the matchmaking screen will look like once the new token system goes online.
Yep. Cool. All right. I think they've discovered the joys of daily bonuses. Awesome. So guys, we're going to continue to play the game, take questions. Guys, any questions you have about alpha and beyond, we have some other questions here. I just want to remind you guys again, please turn into the Social Tavern after the show. They have an exclusive monk accessory to give you guys. It's the monks. They're calling it the Bane Mask. It's cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So before, guys, please ask questions in the comments. We'll take them, and we're going to take some questions from the forums as well. So the first question is, since all gear above 20 eye power is going to be re-rolled, Why did you not edit your loot tables right now to limit all item gear to 240 maximum drops?
Basically, what we wanted to do, we really didn't want to give you just item power 240, especially since you need it for Nightmare 1 to Nightmare 4.
Okay. Guys, I gotta go. I'm sorry. I'll be back. Brad will take my place with the questions.
And I have a suit today.
Fancy Friday, right?
Fancy Friday, right. So, sorry, I didn't know you're probably answering something. Hey, everybody. Yeah, Fancy Friday. So, this is going to have a little bit of a history lesson. We actually, for a while at the studio, we were doing this thing we called Fancy Friday because we're game developers. Mm-hmm. So, how do we dress?
We're not very fancy.
How do we usually dress on a day-to-day
like
basis, Dan?
T-shirts and shorts.
So, the idea was, you know what, we should be able to dress dapper every once in a while. We should be able to have a little bit of style. And so, we started doing Fancy Friday for a while, and that was a lot of fun. And then we stopped. Mm-hmm. And Brett Norton, Brett, one of our designers, he actually showed up one day on a Friday dressed up again. I'm like, man, we should bring that back. We should do it. And so for 3 Fridays in a row, Brett was Fancy Friday, and everyone was like, oh, we should do Fancy Friday again. So this morning I woke up, I actually got dressed normal, and I actually wear button-ups or whatnot, but usually a suit. And I'm like, wait a second, no Fancy Friday. And so I got redressed in my suit, and I came into work, and then Brett didn't dress up today. So now I'm solo Fancy Friday again. But still, I think we should bring it back.
We'll bring it back. Gradually, slowly, we'll bring it back.
You should have a vote on the forums about Dan doing Fancy Friday. I've never seen Dan do a Fancy Friday back in the old day.
Yeah.
There's been a question on whether or not Dan actually wears the same T-shirt twice.
It's an interesting question.
Is that in the lightning round? Oh, man. So anyways, I know I'm just jumping in. Phil had to go take care of something really quick. We're going through questions on the forums?
Yeah, we're going through questions on the forums.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Yep. So just to quickly recap, just in case you didn't get the answer. So we didn't want to limit it to 240 because there are some bits of content right now that kind of require item power higher than 240. So that's kind of what we did right now. And eventually, basically, we'll do the reroll and you guys will start anew. Mm-hmm. All right. I guess next question.
Yeah, so we're used to the first one?
Yeah, we just did the first
one. Cool,
one.
So I'll do the next one. So will the new Nightmare be accessible to all players? Will we simply be able to skip from level 50 to Nightmare 4 if we join well-geared players? Let's start with that one first, actually. Let's talk about, kind of the impetus for what we did when we redid Nightmare and why we're rerolling the gear, and then what's going to happen when it starts. And do you want to take that a little bit?
Sure, yeah, we can talk about that. Basically, what's going to happen is you're going to open the game. All items that you had that were higher than 240 are going to be basically rerolled to 240. They're going to look very different, but they'll keep the same tier and type. So, for example, if you had a polearm that was 850 and it was legendary, it'll be a polearm, it'll be legendary, but it'll be item power 240, and the stats and passives will be completely different. From there, you can basically equip whatever you want. You have to obviously spend some time, look over your gear, see what stats and passives you got. But then you can equip them and jump straight into Nightmare 1. Right. You should be able to jump in straight into Nightmare 1. Play is going to be obviously challenging because the bare requirement, I think, that we're balancing it around is 240.
Yeah.
So you'll take it from there. You'll start in Nightmare 1, graduate from 1 to 2 to 3, and then gather the really cool build that you guys have assembled, the cool passives, the cool skill spheres, and then take on the hardest, which is Nightmare 4.
Yep. And so, to kind of answer your question, if you were to jump in and try to attempt Nightmare 4 after the patch, you will probably get absolutely clobbered.
Yeah, probably.
That's what we're expecting. And, there was, I think some of you guys were noticing some of the bugs that were in Nightmare. For example, there were many bosses that had, less health than insane and hard, and that was by no means intentional.
No, that was not intentional.
There were other issues or bugs inside of Nightmare that we discovered as we dig deeper into that we needed to fix. Mm-hmm. So you should see a very, very different Nightmare experience when this patch comes out. If you try to play Nightmare 4, it should absolutely annihilate you. Mm-hmm. You go back to Nightmare 1, and then you kind of work through and figure out how to play. And we're really excited about being able to do that. We know some people see people saying we want to keep passives, and trust me, if we could do that, we would.
Yeah, if we could, we would. Unfortunately, we can't. The best we can do right now is just completely re-roll an item. That way you don't really lose the tier and type. Maybe sometime in the future we'll expand the system to kind of re-roll very specifically and keep your specific stats and passives. But right now we can't.
And for what it's worth, we did investigate that. I mean, we spent a good amount of time. I think that I just got done posting on the forums about, we spent about a week or so trying to figure out, okay, do we need a re-roll? If we do, how can we do it? What are the different ways that we can try? We have this item versioning system. We created kind of random re-rolling and trying to make it more flexible. And it weighs on us, honestly. I mean, Dan's been in the meetings where it's like we can't re-roll this stuff. People have spent so much time trying to grind this. How can we do this? Mm-hmm. sometimes you have to make that decision when you're in a pre-alpha state like our game is. And like you said publicly a number of times, our goal is to never wipe anything, never reset anything. We really don't want to do that. It's only when we get in one of those situations. And I hope you can see the emotions coming out. Like, it's stressful for us because we know how much you guys care, and we do too. But with all the technical challenges involved with the way that item data is stored, this is really the what we could do with what we currently have available to us and still give you guys a really, really good experience. So understand why some people are frustrated. We appreciate that. We made these accessories. Honestly, the art team did that in like 2 days because we made the decision this last week. I think it was on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like Tuesday. It was just earlier this week. We finally got to the point where it was the only solution we had in place. Mm-hmm. And then we asked the art guys if they were willing to put a little extra time in to create these new things for you guys within a day, which is a very quick turnaround for a new set of accessories. And then you guys, we want to give you something. If we could have, we would have made a costume or something. But in the little bit of time we had, that was really all we had to run with. So appreciate your patience in that, and we're doing the best we can to get you guys something you like. So to go to the next question, well, you did just eye power requirements in the past. What are your thoughts on bringing back a modified version of that for Nightmare? For example, to play any Nightmare 1 map, you need eye power of X, blah, blah, blah. To play Nightmare 2, you need eye power of Y, and so on. This would really likely help slow game progression down just for a little, but encourage more gameplay on the Nightmare 1 to 3 maps and skipping straight to Nightmare 4. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about that some, actually?
It might be worth considering, especially now that we have a better grasp on Nightmare. We'll kind of see how that goes. We really didn't want to prevent you from going and playing the game as you wanted to. And there were a lot of technical issues, which was the reason why we kind of removed those restrictions. That said, with the new system in place, with Nightmare being as hard and difficult as it actually is, we might reconsider that, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, to be honest, the only reason that we didn't, we removed those requirements because they weren't working the way we wanted them to. The goal for that system was to allow players to play together positively.
Yeah.
We didn't want a negative play together experience where someone comes in directly under geared to a public game and then just, man, you're weighing everything down and now it's harder and you're here. Yeah. So I think it may be valid for us to kind of figure out a more intelligent way to do it than we did before, because it didn't really take into account the high power system very well. So the next question, and where are we at now time-wise? 43, okay. What is in the works for preventing players from using strong defenses / CC characters to skip all content before Nightmare 4 again?
Well, obviously with the Nightmare rebalance, Nightmare is going to be completely different. The reason why, or part of the reason why those kind of strong CC, strong defensive characters were working is because the enemy balance in Nightmare was just not working at all. Even in Nightmare 4, things were not as strong as they needed to be.
A lot easier than they were.
Yeah, I mean, like, special enemies were 20,000 health instead of like 1 million and higher health. So it was,
more than that in Nightmare 4.
Yeah, it was quite a huge factor of error. So it'll hopefully not. It'll most likely not be the case when we release this. So we'll see.
Yeah, and we've been doing a lot of testing on that for the last couple weeks. You guys have met Steve Collins before. He's been involved in running that initiative, and I believe there's a thread running right now about actually getting some players involved early next week, right before as we kind of wrap this stuff up, to just sanity check our difficulty and make sure it is where he's at, where it is where we want it to be. So that's another thing we're exploring, trying to help make that better. So the next one, why can't my Flickerwick dream of being as strong as the big boy? Wait, what is it? Why can't my Flickerwick dream of being as strong as the big boys, as in why are certain pet types restricted to certain rarities?
So basically,
wasn't the purpose of not making pets visually evolved to make all pets usable?
Yep. And
we just choose the visuals?
So that's a very good question. As you guys know, the pet system has to basically evolve a substantial amount.
No pun intended. The pet system evolved. We added elements into it, and it grew up.
It took quite a while to kind of get this far. Something that we're honestly considering is basically what we're doing to premium pets. Why don't we do it for all other pets as well? Where, for example, any pet can be any tier, but what comes out of the egg is what kind of decides it. That way, if you really, really like the small version of Flickerwick, you can get a super powerful version of the small version of Flickerwick.
Yeah.
And then you pick the visual. Then you kind of farm a little bit to kind of get the higher tier that you want, and then you just improve that guy. Yeah. So that is something we're considering.
Yep. All right. When farming for gear, we get loot from all classes dropped. In the future, with the release of new characters and more passives, we'll be able to farm for class-specific gear without having to sort through large amounts of unneeded loot. And much further into the future, how would you alleviate having to farm a large amount of passes in order to get gear a player wants for a specific set, assuming there are 4 more class-specific sets?
I'll answer the second question first. We had a small feature in mind that we wanted to do that I can kind of talk about. we intend for you to be able to kind of infuse a specific passive that you want into a specific piece of gear.
Yeah.
And how you get the thing that you need to kind of fuse a weapon with a specific passive, we'll talk about later. But that is still kind of on our radar. This is
part of that influence that we did, isn't it?
Was it?
We were trying to talk about horizontal versus vertical progression. Yeah, so what Dan's talking about, we actually did an influence vote a while ago that some people were confused about, but the idea was, do you guys want more vertical progression on items or horizontal progression on items when we start expanding systems like item enhancement or other systems in order to grow your items? So one of our goals, like Dan described, we're not sure how long in the future this is, but is to allow players the ability to do horizontal progression. That's one way we can alleviate that.
And some of the ideas that we're thinking about, maybe
it is kind of like crafting drag, actually. Drag comments. It's kind of I mean, that was one of the big confusions by the influence, but it was like, so you're playing a crafting system. Well, no.
Well, you're not building the weapon. You are empowering the weapon.
And we're trying to figure out which kind of progression you like, and then based on that, we may add a lot of different kinds of things.
So that'll basically be the answer to the passive farming issue, because right now it's not a big deal. There aren't that many builds, but eventually it'll become a bigger problem.
By the way, No Limer says he means in the next patch, right? In the future means the next patch. Yes, of course.
Yeah, by next Thursday.
So we wave the magic wand of implementation, and then it's all done.
And I guess the first question to answer.
Actually, Dan, why don't you do that tomorrow? You're not busy this weekend, right?
No.
Actually, I think you're bug fixing this weekend.
No, it's all right. We don't. We've shipped with bugs before. We'll do it again.
No, that's not why we're here tomorrow. Don't say that.
Butter loves that one.
Yes.
All right. So the first question was getting hero-specific gear. Right now, the way it kind of works, you shouldn't really get gear for someone else all that often. If you are, we'll have to take a look at it and figure it out. And it might be a cool idea maybe at some point to maybe extend Onslaught to allow you to farm for specific heroes and specific things like that. That's an interesting idea worth exploring.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to harken back to the ancient days with Dan. Back about a year or so ago, probably almost 2 years ago, Jesus. We were talking about doing a kind of a similar kind of smart loot system one day. Maybe we're getting close to the point we want to revisit that topic because, I do see people talking about that in the forums. Man, we're adding all this cool stuff in, and I'm playing a Huntress, but I'm getting stuff that's really valid for a Squire in that build. And
in theory, right now it's 85% for your current hero and 15% for your other hero, but there might be some bugs with that. It's kind of hard to.
Maybe it is bugged.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that it is actually bugged. Usually with things that are involving chance or drop rate, it's hard to debug those things.
Yeah.
So if you guys are certainly seeing a lot more than 15% not for your hero, that's something worth bugging and letting us kind of investigate.
Yeah, and someone else actually mentioned something about, and this is funny because this is actually on our schedule down the road one day maybe. Maybe one day having the builds show up in map-specific areas, and that is something we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
We don't want to even entertain that idea in the very beginning because there's not enough. We want players to be able to find them, but maybe when we get to 10 of them or whatever, we could go in there and go, okay, these kind of belong in this pieces of content. This is where you got to get them and make them a little more interesting for that. Maybe even up specific enemies, like a specific special enemy or something.
I mentioned early on in this Devstream, people were asking about, what's the future of builds. We're definitely going to add more, different builds to the game, but we're also going to start thinking about how do we allow you to get these pieces of gear in an interesting and cool ways, and that could be one of them.
Yep. Let's move on because we're spending a lot of time on that one. So we've been adding strong passes for ballistas, frosties, blaze balloons, and next up something monkey. Like monkey or okay. Are you planning long-term or creating equally interesting and more powerful passes for all the other defenses? Given the strength of the current new passes, I feel like we're being pigeonholed into playing with those in particular. So now we're not doing it anymore. That's it. We actually have one for each, and that's it. Done. That's it. Hope you like the blaze balloon, guys.
It is the coolest one. But something kind of to keep in mind is there's a small handful of people working on builds right now. We are a
small handful. There's a very small handful of people working on builds.
Just me currently working on builds. I can only.
Everyone else is implementing bugs.
Yeah. So we're basically doing them as quickly as we can. Honestly, our intention is to have multiple builds for a single defense, not just for each defense. So we will eventually hit that critical point, but until then, we're just going to start ramping them up one at a time.
We really want that diversity in the game. We want you guys to be able to find different things that you get excited about, different ways to play. Honestly, one of the end goals for us is that, we have these builds that we kind of craft and ways that we think things work together, but our hope is that emergent gameplay comes out where you kind of figure out, if I take this build and that build for this thing, I can make a really cool thing that the designers didn't even expect. I mean, that's where we're going with this down the road. And, you surprise us in new ways you combine it, maybe that incentivizes us to create even more unique and different kinds of builds. So that is most certainly where we're trying to go. All right, well, let's do one more of these and we can go into the lightning round. Let's see here. So in DD1, I feel like... Wait. Sorry. In DD1, playing as a hero DPS felt more meaningful, as you had many choices of weapons, each with their own speed and effect. This meant that a choice of weapon wasn't always down to having the right stat. We bring this type of build diversity into DD2. So I'm going to answer that one.
All right, go ahead.
So that's something we've actually talked about a lot on DD2. And I believe, maybe not in previous dev streams, but this is way back with the Defense Council, something we talked about. There were old designs about adding in variable projectile types. And some of those systems were complicated. Some of them were simple. We hadn't really figured out what we want to do. I can't tell you yet exactly what our plans for that, but I can tell you that some of the things that this person is talking about, you guys are going to get more information on much sooner than you may expect. And not like in the
much
future.
Sooner.
Much sooner than you may expect. And I don't want to say any more than that because Phil may get mad at me later.
No.
But there is certainly some things that are in the pot being stewed right now that you guys are going to be excited about in the pretty near future, beyond the patch that's going to come out very soon. So don't be surprised if in a couple weeks, maybe-ish, never know, you start seeing some cool information. Or tomorrow. Chaos Grizzly says maybe tomorrow. That too, maybe. Let's see. Do we want to do one more of these, or do we want to do let's do the lightning round. If we get done with the lightning round, we'll go back to these.
All right, let's go.
Lightning round?
Lightning round.
Butter, can we do the lightning round? All right, so our goal, we should have someone else time us. Question.
There's
yes
a
or
lot.
no's. I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds.
Yes or no's, but that's not always a yes or no question.
Well, no,
Yes,
doesn't matter.
no, or
You just
maybe.
go with
All
yes
right,
or no.
if it's a maybe, then we'll see. All right, you ready?
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
ready.
So, does the Nightmare Solo Rebalance include differentiating
Yes.
1, 2, 3, and 4 players rather than just between 1, 2, and 3 and 4?
Yes.
All right. Will gear that started at 230 eye power and upgraded past 240 be reset with A and B patch?
Yes.
Shouldn't.
No, I don't.
No, Derek said that it
Beyond
shouldn't.
240?
He said that if you upgraded it, it takes the base eye power, not the upgraded
Never
version.
mind.
It shouldn't. We may be a bug, and it may not be fixable, but we're supposed to not be doing it. Sorry. Well, that's a big.
Go.
Will you add weekly quests to go along with the monthlies and dailies?
Maybe.
Do we have?
Just go.
All right. Do we have a chance to get ridiculous and that has been positive? Funny weapons like a high five or a spider shooter for D2? Because stuff like this is what got me caught in first playing DD1.
Yes.
Yes. Any plans for a dedicated anti-air tower that deals physical damage? Hordes of magic resist flyers are a PETA.
Yes. I don't know what a PETA is,
I don't know
but
what a
yes.
PETA is either. Can we expect rescaling of passives with the A and B patch to not all be as strong as they are? I don't know what that means.
Me either. Maybe.
But I think they're saying your stats are going to be re-rolled at the 240 level relative to anything that could roll on that thing. So
Maybe.
it should relatively be probably as strong.
Maybe.
The daily quest for Play 5 Incursions doesn't require you to win. You can join and wipe 5 times to complete it. Is this working as intended? Do players get a bigger reward for winning 5 times?
Yes and no.
It's working
Yes,
as
it's
intended?
working as intended,
Really?
unfortunately, and no, you don't get more for higher wins.
We intended that.
We got like 80 quests in like a day.
Okay, I should be doing the Devstream. He's just like, come on, man.
Let's go.
Do you know how many we did?
Eventually we'll fix it.
But we may decide to change the intention.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's
going.
hilarious. Are the current upgrade scalings for 20 and 30 DU defenses intended even though they don't come close to what the associated patch notes say?
No.
Okay, really?
I mean, if the patch note says it's probably not intended.
That we made the patch notes one.
Yeah.
The feats we had during missions are gone. I haven't heard any talk about this. They're just gone. What happened? Was it really removed? Is it being rewarded? I think this person's sad.
Yeah, they sent a person.
The feats shouldn't be gone. I believe there's a bug with them. I saw feats working on QA's machine just yesterday, so that's a good bug that we need to look at. But they certainly shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. Oh, pain in the arse is PETA. When they said PETA, my first thought was like the animal people. That was my first thing.
No, that's an E. That's PETA.
Well, I know, but I thought I don't know. That's, okay. Sorry. Lightning round. Sorry. All right. There's a slight disconnect in some Ubers in the sense that some are used during building and some during combat. I could theoretically build cannonball towers and switch over to the bouncy sword beam Uber when the fighting begins. Are you planning to rectify this disconnect somehow, or is it intended?
No, not planning to whatever. That is actually currently intended.
We may change it.
Yes, currently. That's why I said
currently. Yes. Not being able to sell other defenses can be a big pain when they take up all the DUs in the social tavern, so you can't test your own. And people join a game and ruin the game by building defenses simply to annoy, or maybe because. Anyways, are you going to make it possible to sell other defenses?
You can sell someone else's defenses that left.
Right.
We're not going to let you sell someone's defenses that's still in there, but you can now, like we revealed earlier, switch between taverns.
By the way, Snow Angel, I love Pita Pit, one of my favorite places. It's really, really good. When I was in college, I went there all the time. So good. So good. Will Ubers ever get passive abilities?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, if we did allow you to sell defenses, we get a different note here saying everyone keeps on selling my defenses. I hate everybody.
Can't test anything.
So it's kind of a. A large panic fire sphere doesn't trigger on lightning aura or lightning strike aura. I imagine this is because, from a coding standpoint, the aura is not truly taking damage. Is this intended?
Yes, this is intended.
Joining a private tavern takes a lot of steps. First, you need to make a private game, then you need to either win or lose, and then go to the tavern that way. Would you consider making it possible to join a private tavern, drop into the social tavern instead?
You'll be able to on Thursday. Like we talked about.
Did we announce that already?
Yeah, we did. It was here. See?
Oh, it's on the sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we fixed it. We win. Man, finally a pause. All right. So, can you give us an option when selecting a defense, like lightning strike aura, to select whether we want lightning strike aura or lightning aura, instead of having to remove the Ubers to place regular?
Might be a little tricky for controllers, so probably not. We still want you to kind of go through the skill sphere system and decide what you want.
You always bring 2 months, yes.
Yeah.
Could we be allowed to mix and match the new accessories that can be unlocked with the rollback with the Survivor set? It's not very fun to have to outright pick between something we've unlocked for the full wipe or a single head accessory. Maybe. We've actually been talking a little bit about potentially updating and enhancing some of the cosmetic systems. It's a little bit hard, honestly, and I know some people may not believe this, but the way that stuff is set up in data is super, super insanely complex in order for everything to parent properly. But it is an interesting concept, and maybe we can talk about that down the road. When will we stop being able to when will we stop being able to buy the Collector's Edition Alpha Beta release? We haven't told you yet. Can we have a sell item button on loot drops, please? I.e. F to equip, E to bag, T to sell.
Maybe.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, we talked about it before.
Did we? I don't know that. That's a good idea.
It was a Z to sell.
Was it a Z?
Not T to sell.
Oh, well, now I need
because
some
it
T.
matches up with.
Yeah, but they want T.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, the guy said T, so. How about a separate bag for consumables similar to the pets one, please?
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea, too. Are you aware that it doesn't take a horde of mobs for an ogre to crowd surf over a wall? That all it takes is the presence of a second ogre. Honestly, we have a number of bugs about that.
Yeah.
And we've spent actually a lot of time trying to fix them, and every time we've tried, we have failed miserably. So it's a really hard bug because we don't have a physics system, really. And because of that, it causes lots of fun behaviors, and that's just great. So we would want to fix that one day, and we are aware of it. Can you please let Tornado deal damage to grounded units?
Eventually, yes.
Can the egg NPC be set up so that we can queue up eggs to hatch? With the current 8-hour wait, early morning maintenance preventing me from picking an egg before work, I've only been able to hatch 1 egg per day for quite a while.
Maybe. We're looking at the egg system.
Yes. Do you? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have plans to add more Ubers in the future for the existing classes? No.
Yes.
No. No, they're done. That's it. That's all you get. Yes, we plan to add more. So I get a little bit snarky sometimes. Do you play more than 2 hours of Dungeon Defenders a week outside of work? If so, alone, with each other, or with the community?
Yes.
Sometimes.
Alone with each other. A combination of all three.
Yeah. It depends on patch week or not.
Yes.
Because then we're just working. What are the plans for the Celium shards? I'm hoping they will be usable beyond just pet upgrades in the future.
Current plans are just upgrades for the time being.
Yeah. At the seamstress, we currently can preview the later evolution of accessories only after we have bought them. Is this intended, or will this be changed later?
As you just saw.
Patch. Will there be more combo elements in the game at a later time? Maybe with additional... They don't know what the question is. Maybe with additional heroes after official launch, but I had to tell them the question. They can't. They're not like this. All right. I know. Will other heroes get pirate skins too?
Maybe.
I like pirates, bro. Reduce hatch time to 4 hours, please.
Maybe.
Add the ability to cannibalize, merge pets into something useful. Food, pet evolve items, pet skin reroll items. Man, the pet cannibalization thing comes up all the time.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's always funny.
You should do a...
You're blinding rounds. Blinding rounds.
Pet
Onslaught.
deathmatch.
That came up too, actually. I think, didn't that come up at one point? Onslaught, add pet food as reward option, preferably in a stack of 1 to 3.
Okay.
Maybe not. Add a keyboard shortcut for sending all items to temp inventory. Yeah, we'll see what you think about after the patch. Will pets be given more abilities or revamp? Sorry, we're changing the tip.
We're talking about it.
Okay, cool. So no, you will probably not be able to do that.
Yeah, so no.
Will pets be given more abilities or a revamped UI to show how many attacks it makes or its overall DPS?
In the future, yes.
Yes. Will Wyvern tokens be easier to acquire in the new alpha update? Well, I mean, we're trying to fix the daily mission bugs. So if we fix those, then yes. We found another issue that may be causing it based on a lot of your guys' feedback in the forums. So we've made a temporary change in this next patch. You'll see in the patch notes. And we're going to see if that fixes it. If it does, that tells us what's going wrong. If it doesn't, then it helps us narrow down what's going wrong. But basically, we had logic that protected you from seeing the same quest over and over again. And we removed that because we think that maybe what's causing the quest thing to junk out. So we'll see if that does anything. And then if it does, we'll fix it and put either direction back in a hotfix. Sorry, that wasn't yes or no. It was more complicated. Are there any plans for using excess green mana after using all DU upgrades, upgrading all towers to maximum rank? Think Onslaught.
Maybe.
I hadn't thought about that.
It's important for Onslaught.
Yeah. Would you consider letting players spend green mana to increase wave difficulty for bigger rewards?
We will consider it.
That's a cool idea. Only if it increases the enemies that come out too. Every bit of mana increases their health.
Yep.
Any thought on giving golden eggs the possibility of giving gold essence, or just dropping gold essence instead of golden eggs on occasion, which allow players to upgrade existing pets to golden eggs? That's interesting.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I like that idea. We'll be releasing the next set of character-specific passives after alpha release.
Yes.
Yes. Will we be seeing the new Social Tavern soon? And by soon, I mean within the next month or two. Maybe. Will you let us stack pet food? Pretty please. Maybe. Will all skill spheres be available for the tavern? Wait. Will all skill spheres be available for the tavern? They should be. Where else do you get skill spheres?
Yeah, I don't know.
Only for the tavern.
Unless you mean the token vendor.
I don't know what he means.
Yeah.
Will certain items be tied to certain bosses / maps?
Yes.
Yes, we talked about that. Are there any plans for abilities to interact with towers or effects? I try increasing burning damage being taken since it's wind, or more abilities to break frozen targets. I think concussion grenade should break them as well.
Yes.
That's like combos. Can we have an exploding kittens tie-in pet maybe? That sounds awesome. I actually almost bought it recently because they finally are selling it past the pre-orders. And then last, are you planning to add more achievements?
One day.
One day.
And that's it.
And that's all. That's all she wrote. How did you, Butter?
We're good.
We're good?
2 minutes over.
2 minutes over. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining our stream. I was only here for half of it. Phil says thank you too.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. And we will see you guys next time. In the meantime, have a lot of fun this weekend and look forward to the update next week. And we'll have a lot of fun trying to make sure that you have as few bugs as possible. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Take care. He's counting. The tension.
Pinky one.